All right, you seekers of radio electronic truth, and I do give you the truth as best I can. Remember, I give you a video that the other guys don't. I don't sit there with a radio in mint shape and stroke the outside knobs. I take you deep, deep, deep inside the radio and tell you what the parts are and what to watch out for. The other guys don't do that. They're just interested in content so they can make money. I don't make money with my videos. I don't want to make money. I just want to let you know what I've learned. And there's always tricks. There's tricks everywhere, right? So if you go on the conference and the guy will say, my BFO on my NC57 doesn't work. All right, first one guy shoots from the hip. You got a shorted turn in the coil of the BFO, right? That's the one shoot from the hip guy. The next guy will say, your tube is weak. Put a new tube in there and it'll come up. Now that could be true. If you got leaky capacitors in the BFO, and you can see, I think you can see one of them from here. Yeah, there's two of them here. There's three total. Any one of those three capacitors or all three can be bad, and the BFO won't work, right? So that's what everybody will come to the conclusion, all right? That after the, if you could say, okay, I have a shorted turn in the coil, and someday I'm going to locate a coil and put it in there, all right? That's one scenario. The second scenario is somebody really smart comes into the conference and says, one of those capacitors or all those capacitors could be leaky, preventing the oscillator from working. So guy changes the capacitors, and mysteriously the oscillator starts oscillating. But it might not get him out of the woods. Now I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to show you the BFO, and I'm going to explain something that you may not understand or realize what's happening to you. All right, that noise, that really bad noise, is the light. All right, let me turn the light off. Come on, light, turn off. All right, now. All right, you hear that? I'm turning the BFO. And it really becomes more pronounced if you have a station on when you turn the BFO on. All right, now, what should happen? Let me put my light back on because I want to show you. Light, come on back on. I'm pressing the button. Doesn't always work now. The light's getting old. The gooseneck is starting to go bad on the light. It doesn't hold its position. All right, so you put on a station, weak station, center it, put the BFO on, and turn the knob back and forth. And you should hear, when you're dead on the station, the middle of the knob, or the setting should be what they call 0 beat. You won't hear anything. If you turn the knob to the right, you'll hear it whistle. You turn the knob back, 0 beat, to the left, 0. Now this one's a little bit off to one side. It probably works okay on 80 meters lower sideband, so I didn't notice it. But what I want you to see, all right, let me see if I can make sure it's in the frame. See that brass part down here? Now I'm going to turn the knob. Pay attention. See that? See that going by? All right, that's a set screw. Now, that set screw acts as a stop. So when you get the coil set up, you got new capacitors. You undo that, and you allow the coil, the slug in the coil, to turn, even though the knob on the outside of the radio is not turning. And you adjust it so it's 0 beats to the station. And then you tighten that set screw down. And I think you keep the set screw towards you. Let me see. Yeah, you keep the set screw towards you, and that would be the center. That's how you calibrate the BFO after it's working. Now, another way you can I have to turn the light off. Let's get out my DX390. All right, lights off. All right, DX390. Set it for 455. Ready? I don't know if the radio's not in the frame really. Okay, I'll put it over here. We'll turn the knob. Okay? So the BFO on this radio is 455. So when the knob, let me put the light back on. When the set screw is towards you, and you can turn the core. You got to kind of like tighten it up a little bit. Move the core, move the knob, and then loosen it up and move the knob back. It takes a couple times going back and forth. So you want the 0 beat to be on the middle of the carrier, and then you'll be okay for upper and lower sideband. But that's one of the tricks. Now this radio is off to one side, but I'm pretty sure it's okay on 80 meters. But you can get a bodged radio where the guy, he didn't change the capacitors. He started dicking around with the coil, trying to get it to oscillate. And then when you change the capacitors and get it working, it'll be way out of cal. But that set screw is two things. It hooks the outer shaft that goes to the knob to the slug. It's a compression fitting or tightening. Well, anyway, it's like a collar that when you turn the set screw down, it locks both shafts together. So you got to know that. And if you loosen that up by mistake and you turn the knob, you'll go crazy. But that's the trick. That's the trick as far as the coil. All right. That's what I like to tell you about in these things, situations. See, I'll work on it real quick, and I realized that, okay, that set screw there, it's about 1/2 inch long. It does two things. It's the stop for the BFO in either direction. It's also tightens the collar of the shaft that holds the knob to the shaft that is in the coil. It would actually be the slug in the coil. And that's a trick, man. And the other trick is those capacitors. On this radio here, there was only one bad. But the other ones, all 3 capacitors were bad. And 2 of them are picofarad capacitors, like 120 picofarads, something like that. 75, 180, whatever. And then there's a 0.01 that goes up to the tube. And I just want to show you that because, you know, you get the radio all done and then you're having trouble with the BFO work. And of course, you go to the groups for help and someone tells you, you got a shorted turn in the coil. And then you know, the other people they change the tube. Your tube's weak. You know, that's people that really don't fix anything. They don't sit there and get a problem and stay with it until they figure out what it is. And I told you I worked on 4 of these radios. One I scrapped out and threw away because it was the first model. It may be worth something as a collectible to someone that gives a rat's ass. But in other words, I have 3 of these, and 2 of them have the BFO set up as a product detector. Now, the first one I built a product detector and put it in there. I made a cam off the switch for BFO and AVC or whatever. Anyway, when you turn the switch, this selector switch up in here. Anyway, the selector switch, I put a cam on it, and it clicks a little micro switch, and it kicks in a circuit board, so I can do sideband with this radio. Now you can do sideband with the radio as is if the BFO is correctly aligned. And what you do is you got a guy going like that, and then you turn your BFO on, and you move it back and forth, and you try to send it, but it doesn't work that well. You're in automatic volume, or you're in manual volume control, BFO on. You have to cut back the RF gain on the radio a little bit. And all of a sudden, the guy's voice gets correctly. Okay, that's what you have to do on certain models. Now, I found that if I changed the one of the IF tubes to just a different part number, if one of the grids that's tied, I think it was tied to the cathode, is free now. And then you take a 100K resistor, go to ground, and then you couple the BFO wire that normally goes up and wraps around the IF cam. You couple that through a capacitor, into the tube. And then when you're in the, you go into BFO position, you automatically got a product detector. I might show you that. It's not an advanced trick, but in order to do that, when you take the wire that goes up and wraps around near the IF cam, when you take that off and you add a capacitor on the end of it and hook it into this BFO system that they come up with, you have to go in and touch up the coil. They undo that set screw and realign it, because the capacitance that you add in series to the tube changes the frequency of the BFO a little. So you got to go in. That's why after I got it all done, I'm like, do I want to invite trouble with people that go in there? Oh, no, it doesn't work. See, this is what I dealt with when I did the CNC stuff. People were in over their head. Then they did something stupid. Then they would mail it to me, and I'd find out they wired it wrong. I sent it back. They insisted. One guy insisted the motors got wired a certain way. So I wired everything up on a wooden board. I sent it to him, and all he had to do was hook it up real quick, and it should spin and work the way it should. Didn't. I said, what did you do? He insisted that I was wrong about the wire colors. I said, look, dude, I took my time, shipping costs, and I shipped you a step-in motor perfectly wired up to your driver, and it's working. And now you're, so he turned it back to the way I told him, and it worked. And he's like, well, I really thought, I almost felt like saying, nobody told you to think, but when you deal with the public, a lot of them are unqualified, and they don't listen. They want it to work their way, even though it's not working, and they're asking you for help. I went through all this with people. That's why I'm just showing you that set screw hooks two shafts together. And if you loosen that up and turn it, your BFO will be out of calibration. You may not get it to work. And that's the other thing. Even though you got your capacitors changed and the tube is good and the whole thing, all your voltages are right, you undid that set screw. And that set screw is a stop, and it's also locks the two shafts together so they turn together. I think that's it. All right, that's it.